I apologise for the slow start. I always get a bit. It gets difficult when I'm in different places presenting. But that's. Having said that, let's begin. Let's open with a word of prayer. Holy God, we thank you for your goodness and mercy. I want to ask and pray that you would guide us and bless us during these sacred Sabbath hours. It's a great privilege to come together during this special time, not only special in this week, but in Earth's history. Momentous events are happening all around us, and we thank you that we have the privilege of being able to congregate together to discuss, to share, and to observe what's happening all around us. In Jesus' name, Amen. So I just want to double. Was that me? Yes. Oh. Is that better? Can everybody hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. It's gone so quiet. I changed the setting inadvertently. I'm sorry about that. So I have my chat open. I don't know if we use chat on your local fellowship group, but please just raise your hands. On my screen, I've only got myself and my iPad showing, so I don't have anybody else showing. But if you want to just put your audio on and just shout, I'd like to have it interactive if possible. Okay. I'm not an expert at this. It's just that when I have two screens at the same time, it's very difficult for me to have other people on my computer screen to see them, their videos. Hope that's okay with everybody. So, received a couple of questions recently, and I just wanted to go through some of them. So I'm just trying to think of the best way to do this. Okay, so this is from number one. And they've asked a question which comes up regularly. Okay, so I was just trying to summarize the question. So the question is, what is the Sunday law waymark? And I guess, like most people, the questioner, myself, and yourselves have had various options, and I've discussed this several times in recent presentations. What options do people want to give? Maybe you could open your audios up. If I was to ask, what waymarks would you suggest, or dates or events for the Sunday law?
The whole year of 2024?
Someone said the whole year of 2024. Did I get that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you mind if I have someone's name, because I want to come back to some of these points. Was that Gloria?
Yes.
Okay. I hope you don't. Is it okay to put your name there next to that question or that statement?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
It's Christine, November 5th, 2024.
Anyone else? The other options?
Other people have said July during the RNC. I don't know the right date, July something.
So we'll put July 18th. And that was Christine as well. Was that you, Christine? Yes?
Yeah, but I can't defend it because I don't understand it. So.
Okay. Anyone else?
I've heard some people say January 20th when Trump takes the presidency. But that's just something I've heard. I don't know the logic.
Okay. Does anybody else have any options besides those four? Okay, we'll go with those four. I'll go to Christine. Christine gave the answer for 3 dates. You said that you can't defend July 18th, Christine. Does that mean you're willing to defend something else? Or you have a position on something else?
Okay, I have a position on November 5th.
Okay, why do you say November the 5th?
Because it's the day that everyone decided, everyone chose, not just the Republicans, but everybody chose a side and they put it down on paper. I mean, they had already chosen, but that's the day that they wrote it down. Everyone in the United States.
So I'm going to go back to, so on point 2, you're saying that the marker is voting?
Yes.
Decision? And you're saying it's everybody?
Everyone in the United States.
Yes. Okay. So just so that we're clear, when we talk about the Sunday law waymark, my understanding is, according to Spirit of Prophecy, that however Ellen White defined what that waymark began as, and I don't think she's very clear on that, she's quite vague, that she would mark it as both a point in history, which we call a waymark, and also a period of time.
Yes.
Hopefully we will agree with that. And somewhere in the midst of that history is what we would call, or what Ellen White would call, the loud cry. And it would be closed or ended by the term that we use, the close of probation. Does anybody have a comment on that or disagree with it? If there's no comment and no disagreement, I'm assuming that means we all agree.
I have a comment. Like, so so the Sunday law time has to come before, after the period. So I mean the point. So the point you're showing is Sunday law is a point, and then the time for it has to come after the point.
That's
Meaning,
my understanding of all of this ideology, all of these theories, these ideas we have about the thing that we call the Sunday law, or we might now call the Great Test, which is a term that we borrow from Ellen White anyway. That graphic that I've just put is my, I guess, condensed understanding of what she proposes, what she teaches. So the answer is yes. For you to ask that question, does that mean that you might have a different thought on that?
Yeah. Because if it's a period of time, then that RNC could have fallen in that Sunday law period of time. So it could have started before then, like at the RNC. And then if the Sunday law period of time is the 2024, then when 2025 hits, we have close of probation for addressing what that Gloria said, that 2024 is Sunday law period of time. Yeah, period. So that would change. That could change our answers.
I'm going to ask Gloria what she thinks in a moment.
Yeah, of course.
So let's concentrate on, well, let's focus on your answer. Does this change your understanding? When I asked you the question, what's the Sunday law waymark? I presume all of us are in agreement what a waymark is. Sometimes we might say that a waymark is a period of time, but as soon as you start doing that, it gets a bit squishy, if I can use that phrase. A waymark is more often than not an event, and the reason we tend to want to extend that is either we don't have it is because we don't have enough information, and that's either because there isn't enough information, or it's because we haven't discovered enough information. It's a marker of our ignorance. So when we take this idea of the Sunday law waymark, and we had 3 different dates, number 2, 3, and 4. Those are specific, if you want to call them days or events, and there's enough information just straight from the Spirit of Prophecy. We don't have to even go to, our line or previous waymarks to show that Sunday laws last a period of time. Ellen White will tell us that. So when we were talking about November 5th, July 18th, January the 20th, we're talking about a specific event. Then the question would be, where would that event be on this line? And maybe it's not wise for us to assume things, and I say that to myself, but when someone asked that question, I assumed that they were talking about the waymark that begins the Sunday law history, or the Sunday law period, or the Sunday law dispensation. And we know from various models that can be understood in different ways. So this period of the Sunday law history, on the line of the Nethinims, what would we call that? Anybody? What dispensation is this in the line of the Nethinims?
Is it the harvest?
Yeah, their harvest.
Okay, so if we're familiar with a dispensation that's called the harvest, then I hope we're all comfortable with the idea that the Sunday law period of time is that it's a period of time, and we can use a different model to indicate that it's the harvest of the Nethinims. So if that's the case, then when people ask what the Sunday law waymark is, I'm not suggesting that there is only one event that happens during that time period. In fact, I'm suggesting the complete opposite of that. The question is, when would we begin this dispensation? And that's what we're asking, or at least that's what I'm asking, because I think that's what the questioner is asking. What is the Sunday law waymark? So going back to Christine, number 2, you said it's November the 5th because it's when everybody in the United States makes a decision, and it's related to voting. So are you suggesting or still saying that this waymark here is November 5th?
No.
Was that a no?
You're right. No, because I was under the impression that the Sunday law was a test, and I figured, well, the test would be where everybody wrote down their answer, and that would be the election day, right? But
Sure.
if that had, go ahead. But if it's a period of time, then the RNC had already taken their test earlier, so it would probably have had to been in July or before then.
Before July?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. At least by July 18th, when the RNC made their decision. If it's like the beginning of the Sunday law.
So when you said November the 5th,
Yeah.
where would you have placed November the 5th on this line?
At the
Before I-
test. At the test, where the Sunday law marker is.
Which is where I've just placed it.
Yeah. But that was before, and knowing that the Sunday law is a period of time after the point. Because people had already made up their mind. All of the Republicans had already taken the test and already made up their mind.
So let me ask you a different question. When's the harvest of the Nethinims?
We just said in the Sunday law period of time.
And
between Sunday law, close of probation.
So if I were to say, when does the harvest begin? You would say?
At the Sunday law?
Here?
Isn't it? Am I confused? Is it, or is it after, it can't be after close of probation, right? Because then it's already done.
Elaine already, and several others, said that it's the Sunday law dispensation.
Yeah.
And so if I were to ask, when does the harvest begin? You would begin it where I've put this arrow?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not a trick question. So when we talk about the harvest, it must have a beginning point and an end point and a duration.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So when I asked above here, when is the Sunday law waymark? We had the generic answer for number 1, and then we had 3 specific answers. So when I asked you, you said you can't defend July, and you just said some people have said January, you've heard that one, but you said that you were looking for November the 5th. What waymark where would you have placed that if I gave these numbers? 1, if I said this was 1, 2, or 3, or would it be, somewhere in between? Where were you thinking November the 5th should be on this line, if not at the beginning?
Well, before this class, I would have put it where you have it written down at the Sunday law point.
Okay.
At number 1.
Okay, so
But
What's changed the last few minutes in your thinking?
Yes.
What's changed? Now, I understand something's changed, but what has changed and why has it changed?
Understanding that period of time, I guess I just figured that that Sunday law period of time came around the Sunday law on both ends of it, as opposed to after the point.
So if this line is the Sunday law period, yeah?
Yeah.
You're saying that when I asked the question, what's the waymark, you would have done that?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, I would have. I don't know why. That was what was in my head. Obviously, it's wrong.
So if I were to ask you this, we will understand what TOE is, time of the end.
Yeah.
I'm not picking on you, Christine. Anybody can answer. So if the time of the end, does anybody disagree that the time of the end is, according to, it's a spirit of prophecy definition, is a period of time? Does anybody disagree with that? The time of the end is a period of time. In the past, in our movement, we've done numerous, I can't say a whole study on it, but this concept has come up over and over again. It's one of the foundational concepts or models that we have in our movement about how these lines have been created. And one of the premises that it's been built upon is that the time of the end is a period of time. Okay, so no one's commenting, so I'm going to assume we all either know that, or if it's the first time you've heard of it, that you agree with it. So if you were to take the time, you could go into the spirit of prophecy, and if someone wants to do it now, they can put it on the chat. I'm going to paraphrase, but Ellen White will say that we are living in the time of the end. And that was one of the proofs that we used to use, the proof text, to say that the time of the end is a period of time. So, Christine, if that's correct, the time of the end. If we just go to Ellen White's version of history, if I were to say, where would you place the time of the end waymark? Where would you place it on that line?
At the beginning.
So you would do this.
Yeah.
So can you see that your understanding for the time of the end model, which is line number 2, the bottom line, and your model for the Sunday law look different?
Yeah.
But conceptually, we're saying the same thing. We've just changed the title. We've just gone from time of the end to Sunday law, or either way. But the phrase or the statement is exactly the same.
I agree.
Okay. So that was, I only said that so that you could see that somewhere in the back of your mind that you knew that when we talk about the time of the end as a waymark, it would be at the beginning of that dispensation or that period.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I don't know why I got it all mixed up.
It's fine. I'm really glad that we were able to clear that up.
Thank you.
So if we go back to your statement, then, if I were to ask you now, where would you put Sunday law? Would it be 1, 2, 3, or 4?
Probably 3.
Okay,
where
so
it starts.
Okay, yeah. We all agree that we're talking about the start.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're all on the same page as that. Okay, so it's interesting that you've moved from November the 5th to July 18, and your marker for the Sunday law was, I picked up three things. I don't know if I'm not asking you to change at the moment, but did I get correct? You had voting, decision, and everyone.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that
That's
would
fine.
change to
Yeah. My question was not going to be, obviously there'll be some change. My question is, why have you picked voting as the marker for a Sunday law? Why have you picked voting?
because it's kind of like a test because you're writing down your answer. This is you're making that decision. You're saying, okay, this is my answer. This is what I'm going with. This is my decision. And they did that at the RNC too. And then
Sure.
maybe not. I don't know how they do it, how they vote, but they make that decision, right?
So why are you saying that the marker for a Sunday law is voting as opposed to something else? Why does where did you get the concept that voting is the thing that you look for as an external event to define? We'll call it the beginning of the Sunday law, as opposed to the death of somebody or a major riot, or in fact a law or a Supreme Court decision. Why would it be voting? Why would voting the one that you would say is the marker for the Sunday law?
In my understanding, for me, it's individuals are choosing. They're choosing, freedom over equality. They have to make individuals have to make this choice, and the way I see it is that voting is making that choice. I suppose you could do writing also, because that's a choice, but that's not what happened. I mean, I guess it could have been January 6th, but I think that was just, I don't know. But to me, it's like a test, like Rick sitting down at a desk and filling in your answers. You're by voting, you're writing out your answer. So I could be totally wrong.
Sure. So you don't think rioting fits the criteria? Because you said maybe it was January 6th, maybe a riot. Does that mean that you think rioting could be the marker, or you just don't fit it? I want to know what the characteristics are. I'm not asking just you. So I'm going to move to let me. Troy, are you able to speak, or are you? Is it you just chat? Go ahead. I've got. Is that Ines or Linas?
Hi, happy Sabbath, Walter Parminder. This is Lana.
Lana.
So I was just thinking maybe it's more like a bell curve with the harvest points being peaking at certain point and having the end, just like any bell curve having the end, beginning and the end, with the end being close of probation and the beginning. This is where in my mind, it's I'm thinking sometimes 2016, maybe, and peaking somewhere between the I'm debating whether it's November the 5th being the peak, but I'm not sure about the exactly where would the bell curve peak at, but I'm thinking it's more like a bell curve.
So, spoken as a true scientist, we've now moved on to bell curves. So I'm hoping everyone else understands what a bell curve is. We'll just do a quick bell curve for those who aren't aware of it. So bell curve is the distribution, and it kind of looks something like that, I guess. Is that a fair bell curve?
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Okay. So This would be the Sunday law. Oops, I don't know why I did that. And this would be the close of probation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you said you don't know where the bell curve would reach its maximum.
Yes.
Are you sure you don't know?
Well, I'm thinking that it's
Conceptually.
November 5th.
No, let's go conceptually.
At the loud cry, is that what
Are you asking me or telling me?
I'm asking?
Asking? Oh, come on, I ask questions. Okay, let's take the phrase or the word swelling. What does the word swelling mean?
Expanding.
Expanding. And I don't know what the opposite of swelling is.
Shrinking.
Shrink. We'll go to shrinking then. So I don't know. We'll leave that shrinking for the moment. Swelling. Why did I pick the word swelling?
It is actually from a quote from Ellen White's one of Ellen White's quotes.
Paraphrase it for us.
Sorry, I can't remember.
Oh, can someone paraphrase where this term swelling comes from?
It swells into a loud cry.
Does that sound okay for you?
That's great.
Okay, so Elaine said it swells to a loud cry. What is the it?
Message?
The message. Oops. What is this message?
So I think there's two messages. The one that is the message of equality, and on the opposite side is the message of small government. So
What did you say about the government?
Small government.
Small government.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I'm not sure what small government means.
Well, the states' rights to give the rights for the states to decide about abortions.
Okay, so that's
inequality. Sorry.
Okay. Who gives the loud cry?
Traditionally, I think we always saw that it is the advent, the movement.
Us. So you say traditionally, so you've got a different view now? It's someone else?
Well,
in addition to or instead
the
of?
thing is we're not giving any message. Well, not to say we're not. We are, but nobody is listening.
We'll put that thought aside because that seems to trouble a lot of people. To be honest, I'm not sure why it does, but it does seem to. So when you say traditionally, it's us, are you saying there isn't anybody else? It is just us that gives the loud cry, but you're not sure what that means anymore?
Well, we know that the media serves a great, does the majority of parsing out of what's happening so that people can have a choice. So
yeah, but they're not giving a loud cry, are they?
No, they're not.
I mean, in a serious sense, if we could call them, which we've done in the past, which I have done in the past, I don't mean to sound derogatory, they're like second-rate prophets. So I'm not trying to undermine or diminish what their purpose is in life, but they're not giving them the message, are they?
No, they're not.
Okay, so if they're not giving the message, they may be giving a version of it or a shadow of it. They may be seeing things, they may be commenting on what's going on, but they're not giving the message. So if we're giving the message, is anybody else giving the message?
You mean on the opposite side? The opposite message? I think they are.
There's only a couple of groups in the world. There's us, there's the threefold union, and there's the media. And the media comes in two parts, I guess. Out of all the groups that we could think of, who's giving this message?
This message, only us.
Okay, so it's us. So we're going to give a message, and our message begins when?
1989.
You told me you said there's a bell curve that goes from like 0 to max to 0 again, and you said it was a Sunday law.
Well, our message begins in 1989, but the equality message starts 2019.
So what's this picture that you got me to draw here? It doesn't mean anything.
Maybe I don't know.
Okay, I'm not trying to get you confused. The loud cry. When does the loud cry begin? Anybody can answer. I'm not picking on you. Anybody can answer. When does the loud cry begin?
At the Sunday law.
Okay, so who was that?
It was Alyssa.
Oh, Alyssa. So Alyssa.
I moved and something happened. Yeah, it's Alyssa.
If it begins at the Sunday law, then it doesn't begin before the Sunday law. And so this bell curve is correct, as you drew it for us. So the message isn't a message that goes from the time of the end. It's a message that's specific to this final dispensation, which we might call the harvest of the Nethinims or the Sunday law dispensation. So what would that message be then?
I think it starts before these, before the elections, and the message is.
Let's leave the word election. You're saying it starts before the Sunday law.
Yes, true.
So the Sunday law message starts. So the loud cry starts before the Sunday law.
Yes, correct. No, sorry. There is loud cry for different for different groups of people, right? So for the world, the loud cry starts at Sunday law.
Okay, so we're okay with this picture then. That it's the one that you gave us. Just want to make sure that you're happy with it. That you're settled into.
I think so.
Okay, so the message we give the message, not anyone else. There is a sense of consternation in the movement that we're no longer sure what this message is and who we give it to, because there's this idea that we're not going to be crying to anybody. But I'm not trying to make that point. So are you happy to call this the loud cry?
I think so.
Does anybody disagree with this picture that we now have? Give you just a moment to think about it. Does anybody disagree?
I disagree.
Oh, you disagree with Lena? Go on, why do you disagree with Lana for? Which bit do you disagree with?
Part I disagree with is that if you look at a swelling, then to me, even you put it to music, it's a crescendo. It builds and builds and builds. I don't see that at any point before probation closes that it diminishes or starts to, as you've written there, shrink.
if I could comment. So this bell curve, the units are the number of souls being saved based on the decisions that they're making. So it is not the message as in terms of the voice of the movement, but rather it's the units of the people, the souls being harvested, because this is a harvest time, right, between the Sunday law and close of probation. So I agree with you in terms of crescendo, but it refers to the voice of the movement. But in this bell curve, the units of the area under the curve is the number of souls being harvested.
Now I disagree because in this, we don't have definitions for um, units of souls, only the amount in which the message is swelling.
Okay, let's try and get to a little bit of unity. So when I put shrinking, I asked what opposite of swelling was shrinking, and Lana graciously gave us the word shrinking. And I did say that something along the lines that let's put that just to one side at the moment, because I thought someone would pick up on this, that when you look at the way Ellen White speaks about this, and if you go back to 1844, you can go back to other histories too, that you see that the cry, the message doesn't lessen after the loud cry. It only just continues to rise. So if we were to do this, Sunday law, close of probation, we'll put a big question mark here. And we've got loud cry. And we'll do this, which is how we always do it. And we'll say that this is the message. Is that okay for you, Bob?
Yes, thank you.
So if we're okay with that, and I think Lana says that that's okay for her, then she proposed, said, actually that bell curve isn't about the strength of the message or its intensity. What it's actually dealing with is how many people may be saved during this dispensation. And I think Alyssa has said, we don't actually, that's speculation because we don't really know that. Is that a fair summary of what that curve was meant to represent and how we view it?
Fair to me.
Yep. Alyssa, have I represented it fairly?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we won't discuss about the salvation of individuals at this moment because there's still a question about the loud cry and how that even operates, who we're crying to, or if there even is one. So if we go to this model here, if we said that the loud cry is this, and there is a swelling, the problem with this model is after the loud cry, Ellen White doesn't give sort of much of an indication about what happens after that with respect to this swelling. So my only point I wanted to pick up on this is, if this was July 18, and that was number 3, I think, would the loud cry be November? Does anybody, do any of us think that it would fit the criteria as the Sunday law has progressed to such a degree now, there's a loud cry going on?
I think so.
I disagree with that.
Who was that?
It's Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Happy Sabbath. I
just-
disagree. Go
Why do
ahead
you
and ask me.
disagree? Go ahead. Why do you disagree?
Because I don't think the message is defined for the people outside of this message. It hasn't been defined yet. It's not the call coming out of Babylon, the loud cry.
Okay, so what have I understood you correctly? You said we haven't defined properly to the world. If we just call it the world, the people on the outside, what the test is.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, Lana, why did you say November 5th?
I think people have already had enough knowledge and background about the people they were voting for. And
I just want to stop you for a second. This isn't about the people. This is about us.
The message.
Why are you saying that November the 5th was the loud cry? Everything has swelled to the loud cry.
okay, I see what you mean. So basically, if we have been giving the message, then this may have been true, but practically the message was not, it was internal, but
Why?
not external. Is that right?
Why were we not given the message?
I mean, we didn't have public evangelism that is traditional kind of, not to say traditional, but
If we did,
explicitly.
if we were into evangelism, what would we have said on November the 5th?
That if you're voting for Trump, you're about to receive a mark of the beast.
And we would have known long before the loud cry what, because the Sunday law begins long before that. Is that correct?
Yes.
And when did this movement come to an understanding of when this dispensation began?
1989.
No, the dispensation is Sunday law dispensation. When did we come to a position that we knew when the Sunday law was?
On the formalization.
Formalization of what?
Yeah, I was thinking out loud. My mic was on.
That's fine. I guess what I'm asking, Lena, is that for us to give a loud cry, should we not have a conscious understanding as a movement that we're actually in the dispensation at least sometime before the loud cry was given? Would you agree with that?
Yes, correct.
And beginning 2024, right the way to November, when would you mark that the movement had a consciousness? We're in the Sunday law now. We're here. We have arrived. And by the time November comes, on November 4th, 5th, 6th, we would have gone to the world or shouted in our room saying, "Told you so."
Yeah. I guess it would have been July 18th, maybe. Oh, actually, even earlier than that, sometime.
So the movement was stating there were teachers in our movement. There was a collective consciousness that we're in the Sunday law, pre-July, in July, post-July.
I think we had the understanding that we are in the Sunday law period.
In which month was that?
I can't tell you, but I remember Alda-Tessa's presentation where she says that we are something about that we were just about to walk into the Sunday law period.
I've been saying
And-
that for 20 years.
Yes.
Elder Jeff said that for 20 years before me. Elder Tess would have said that for another 20 years until the waymark hit. To say that it's round the corner, we don't know how big those corners are.
Elder Parminder,
Who's speaking?
this is Susan.
Hi, Susan.
Hi.
Oh, but before I ask you, do you get the point I'm trying to make, Lena? That
Yes,
yes,
I do.
If you go back 2022, and Elder Tessie saying the son-in-law is just around the corner, what does that mean? Next week, next year, 5 years?
Yeah, we did not. I don't recall any specific information about that, so I can't tell.
Okay, so I'm not trying to make myself to be anybody or anything, but someone's asked me the question, when do I think the Sunday law waymark is? And